All right, so we're back for another deep dive.
Always ready for a deep dive.
This time we're going to be talking about...
We're going to be talking about SZA and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, and more specifically, this new tour that they've announced.
The Grand National Tour.
The Grand National Tour.
They're a pretty big deal.
It is a very big deal.
Especially considering the kind of year that both of them have had.
Yeah, they've both had pretty fantastic years recently.
Really come into their own, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And so this tour is kicking off very soon, actually.
Yeah, April 19th.
In Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis. It's going to be going all over the U.S. and Canada.
Hitting all the major spots.
Yeah.
You know, L.A., Chicago.
Yeah.
Houston, Philly.
San Francisco. Vegas.
Even Toronto.
Toronto, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's maybe the most notable stop on this whole tour.
For sure.
Just given the history there with Drake.
Drake and Kendrick.
Yeah.
Fierce rivals.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a very interesting show.
It's going to be a very interesting show. I wonder what the vibe will be like in the crowd, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so obviously this tour is a really big deal.
Huge.
But what we want to focus on today is actually some of the things that SZA has been saying recently about Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, specifically how he has kind of shaped her view on performing.
Right.
And it's really interesting stuff.
Really fascinating.
So yeah, basically SZA has been talking about how Kendrick gave her this really interesting piece of advice about performing.
He told her to basically imagine that she was watching herself perform.
From above.
Yeah, like a third-person perspective.
Yeah.
Almost like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
While she's performing.
Yeah, and her initial reaction was like, oh, wow, this is not the performance I want to be seeing.
Right.
Which I think is just so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is she seeing that she doesn't like?
And it made her realize that she needed to bring, like, a completely different energy and spirit to her performances.
Like she wasn't happy with what she saw when she took that step back.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, you know, it's so easy to get caught up in the moment when you're performing.
Absolutely.
And to not really think about how you're coming across to the audience.
You get lost in the emotion of it all.
Yeah, exactly. And so to be able to step outside of yourself like that and to see yourself from a different perspective, it's such a valuable tool, I think.
It's like holding up a mirror to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, SZA even joked that, like, Kendrick being a Gemini is already split in half.
Right.
So, like, maybe this kind of perspective comes naturally to him.
Maybe he's always seeing himself from the outside.
Yeah. It's funny, but it also makes you think, you know, like, maybe there's something to that.
Maybe there's something to that.
But yeah, so beyond just this advice about performing, SZA has also been talking about the possibility of future collaborations with Kendrick.
Oh.
Yeah. She said that she's really eager to do, like, a full album with him.
Wow.
Yeah, she's even called him a genius.
Well, he is a genius.
He is a genius, yeah.
So.
And
yeah.
she's talked about how, like, his genius is tied to his elusiveness.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like he's not someone who's constantly in the spotlight. You know, he kind of picks and chooses his moments.
Yeah, he's very deliberate about when he shares his art with the world.
Exactly. And she even shared a story about how when they were working on the song Luther,
okay,
he basically made the final decision on her vocal takes without really consulting her beforehand.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, she wasn't offended by it at all. She's actually really impressed by it.
Interesting.
Yeah, she said that it showed her how much he trusted her and how much he believed in her talent.
That's a powerful testament to their relationship.
It is, yeah. And
yeah.
You know, she even said that she considers that period of her life to be her fumbling and finding era.
Fumbling and finding era.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like she was still figuring things out, and she really appreciated having Kendrick's guidance during that time.
Yeah, it sounds like he played a really important role in her development as an artist.
Absolutely, yeah. And she admires his ability to say yes. You know, to be decisive, to know what he wants.
And to stay grounded at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And she's even joked that she wants to learn from him. She's like, teach me sensei.
Teach me sensei.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack here. You know, we've got this huge tour coming up. We've got these really interesting insights into the creative process and into the relationship between SZA and Kendrick Lamar.
It's a glimpse into the world of two musical giants.
It is, yeah. And I think it's really exciting to see what the future holds for both of them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so to kind of bring this back to our listeners, I think what's really interesting about this whole thing is this idea of perspective.
Yeah.
Kendrick's advice to SZA about imagining herself performing from above.
It's such a simple idea, but so powerful.
It is, yeah, and I think it can be applied to so many different areas of life. It's not just about performing; it's about anything that you're doing, really. If you can step outside of yourself and look at things from a different perspective, it can really help you to see things more clearly, to identify areas where you can improve.
Yeah, it's like getting a fresh set of eyes on something.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that's something that everyone can take away from this. Next time you're facing a challenge or working towards a goal, or even just going about your day-to-day routine, try to imagine yourself from a third-person perspective.
Yeah.
What would you see?
What would you change?
Exactly. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's our deep dive for today.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Keep diving.
Keep diving.